What's up, guys? So I just had a conversation with a friend and we were discussing about relationships a bit. So this inspired me to make a video about what we call affinity. But what is that? What is this affinity thing? This is a new concept that I've brought into my teachings, in the last few months. Because about a year ago, I started really seeing this as being the actual case. This being a critical idea for good quality relationships, and even for even in the dating side of of relationships as well. It applies to everything love related. So what is affinity? This is about having two people having an affinity. So affinity is my concept, my word for what we call compatibility, or alignment, or being a good fit. So when two people have this affinity, that's when you can say that they can be happy together. And most people do not have affinity. Most of us, we struggle with relationships because we try to run after the wrong people who are not the right fit for us. So we're trying to force connection where connection is not. And it's not meant to be, because biologically, psychologically, personality-wise, you are not a good fit. And most of us, we kind of cling to some things that are kind of compatible, and we try to close a blind eye to some of the things which are not compatible. And we think that's okay, that's enough. But actually, to have a proper relationship, you have to have 100% affinity, or as close as possible to it. So unless we have this great affinity, great compatibility with someone, we are not going to be happy. I used to study dating and seduction and all that kind of stuff many years ago. I thought that was the answer. And in that world, men are being taught to seduce every girl, as if every girl is a good fit for them. So I, along with many men, we were running around trying to talk to all kinds of girls and get them into bed and all that kind of stuff. And at some point you realize that you don't have fun, and it's not a good connection with all girls. And with just some specific women, you can really feel good and have a great date, a great, even sexual experience, and then a great relationship. So eventually I started to realize that not all women are my women, and not, all men are the right man for every woman. So affinity means that we have to start opening our eyes and wake up to the fact that not every woman is a good fit for us, regardless of how she looks, regardless of how amazing she is. She may still be amazing, but not amazing for us. And this applies especially to relationships. Most people struggle because they're trying to force a relationship where a relationship should not be happening in the first place. When there is natural affinity between two people, relationships are easy, because you are compatible in so many ways. Sexually, personality-wise, interest-wise, direction in life-wise, priorities-wise. So there is a great affinity, and that's when you know it's a great relationship. Otherwise, we end up stuck. We don't even know about this idea of affinity or alignment. So someone kind of likes us, and we just go for that because, well, she likes us, so I'm not gonna, complain. I'm just gonna go and be in a relationship with her. But it may be very obvious that she's not a good fit. Or maybe you like someone based on how she looks, but there is no 100% affinity, because personality-wise, it's not a great fit. Direction in life-wise, it's not a great fit. And so we end up struggling with that relationship, trying to make it work, forcing it, and then becoming needy to make it work, trying to convince the girl to love us, to like us. It's a huge trap. And so then she ends up leaving us because we are needy, because we don't know that she's actually not a good fit. So, when we have affinity with someone, we don't have to work hard to make them love us, because they already do. They already love our flavor. They already adore who we are as a human being. And if they do not, then it's a sign that there is no affinity. And it's best if those two people actually part ways. This is not about forcing. I hear many people trying to make a relationship work. Just a few days ago, I was talking to someone, and this woman was saying that we're trying hard to make this work. Well, if you're trying to make something work, it's because it's not working naturally. And if it's not working naturally, it's not a good fit. I was looking online a few days ago, and I saw this post, which is quite funny. And it says this: love is like a fart. If you have to force it, it's probably shit. So here we can say relationships are like that. If you have to force it, it's probably not a good fit. It's probably not great affinity. When there is great alignment between two people, what's up, Jody? Then we know that it is a good fit. And most of us, because we're getting into relationships blindly without really being selective about the person we're getting into a relationship with, end up stuck with the wrong person. So we get into a relationship for the wrong reasons, because we don't want to be single, because someone kind of likes us, because we kind of like someone, rather than because we absolutely adore someone. And that's why we feel so good with them that we want to continue having a relationship. So typically we choose the wrong partners, we're not selective enough, and then we wonder, why is this not working? Why is she losing interest at some point? Because you made the wrong choice in the beginning, in the first place. And when we become a bit more aware about this idea of affinity, we start realizing that not all people are our people. Not all women are meant to like us. We're not meant to make every woman like us. Not all women are a great fit for us, just like we are not a great fit for many women. And we start being very selective. We start selective on all levels, on how a person looks, on how a person talks or behaves with you, on how you feel with that person, on whether you have the same interests or perspective on life, on whether you're going in the same direction in life. And if some of these things are not aligned, there is no alignment. There is no 100% alignment. And if there is no 100% alignment, or as close to it as possible, then there's going to be issues. There's going to be trouble. So affinity means that you connect naturally. A simple shortcut, actually, at least one of the indicators that there may be affinity with someone, is that physically you look very similar. Like with my wife, we look very similar as well. Some people think we are brother and sister. And then if I look around at the couples that I know that are happiest, they look like each other very much. They very much look like each other. They have similar facial features. Just yesterday, I went to an event with a mentor of mine, a spiritual teacher, and he presented to me his girlfriend. So I was like, it's funny, I would have said that you guys are together because you look like each other. So that's a good shortcut to know whether you may have affinity with someone. But anyway, just because you look similar to your partner doesn't mean you actually are going to be a good fit, but that's one of the simplest shortcuts to know when you choose a woman for you, or if you're a woman watching this, when you choose a man, you will notice that the men who look like you, who are very similar in facial features, maybe have a high probability of you guys having a great affinity. And then you may want to look as well at the personality. Do you feel relaxed and totally yourself around this person? And if that's the case, that's again another sign that you may have great affinity. Because if you have to be someone else, if you have to change yourself, if you have to try to be more than who you are, then it's probably a sign that it's not great alignment with that person. It's not great compatibility. So again, this idea with do we look similar is not random. Life is a very intelligent force which has designed relationships and mating and biology to kind of select each other. And no wonder I don't like someone who looks very different than me. Or no wonder we don't like people who are having all kinds of issues. Because they are not a good fit. Because they are not either healthy, either looking healthy, either meeting the standards of what it means to be a attractive and healthy and desirable human being. So I was just talking to this friend, and he was saying that how can you judge if you like someone based on how they look? And he was saying that this is very superficial. And I was pointing out that this is not superficial at all. This is a general indicator on whether that person is in the category of people with whom we may have great affinity. Because imagine human beings being like vegetables, right? It's not going to be a great fit for a potato to mate with and be with and have a relationship with an apple. It's not going to make sense, right? So a potato is going to, connect and mate and have a relationship with a potato. An apple is going to be attracted to an apple. A pear is going to be attracted to a pear. Yet most of us suffer because we try, as human beings, we try to mate with the wrong vegetables, right? With the wrong kinds of human beings. So you can categorize people based on their way of being. Like if you've lived on this planet for long enough, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you start noticing that there's just categories of people. Doesn't mean you're judgmental. It just means that you notice certain patterns. And you notice that with certain people, you have more affinity. With certain people, you have less affinity. And the process of becoming secure means that you become self-respecting. It means that you start to value your own well-being and you don't want to hurt yourself anymore. You want to give yourself what's good for you, which is giving yourself a great partner with whom you have great affinity. So, this means that you open your eyes and you become selective. When you go on a date, for example, you're not there to make the person like you, because it's just like going, you don't know what kind of vegetable that person is. And you're kind of going and you're like, I need to make this vegetable like me. But maybe, you're an apple and that is a strawberry. I need to make this strawberry like me. What's the point in a strawberry liking you? There's no point. And a strawberry is not going to like you no matter how much you try. And the more you try, the more of a turn off, the more needy you are toward the wrong vegetable. So when you understand this idea of affinity, then if you go on a date, you're no longer concerned with making someone like you. You're only concerned with being yourself, right? And seeing if you resonate with this person, with this vegetable, so to say, right? To see, is this person my kind of person? Is this my kind of vegetable? If you're an apple, you're looking, is this an apple? Because by the time, let's say, you've watched this video already, by that time you start knowing that the wrong vegetables are just not going to be a good fit, biologically speaking, right? Nature has designed us to attract, likes attracts likes. We are compatible biologically, if we are in the same, very similar, right? If we are very different, chances are we're not going to be, a good fit. What's up, Renee? So when we know that, then we no longer go on a date and we try to make someone like us. You know, we just go, we are ourselves, and we see, do I like this person? And it doesn't mean, if you don't like the person, it doesn't mean that the person is bad. It just means that it's not your kind of vegetable. It's not your kind of person. So I'm talking about vegetables and I have a green shirt. So that's a good coincidence. But when we understand this, then relationships become very easy and very simple. I work with many guys and some women as well. And they come to me trying to save a relationship, trying to save their marriage, trying to save their relationship. And by the time we start working together and they start becoming more and more secure, more and more self-respecting, more and more self-loving, self-confident, independent, you know, less afraid of losing, right? More detached and dedicated. They start realizing, they came to me with the idea of help me save this relationship. And by the time we get to, you know, a few weeks later, they realize, actually, this woman is not the right woman for me. And until now, I was blinded by my fear of loss, by my attachment, by my neediness. I was blinded by that, and I had no idea about this thing called affinity. Because if we don't have affinity, we cannot be happy. And if we have affinity, then happiness is natural. Relationships are effortless. So by the time the person starts becoming more and more secure, they actually end up leaving their wife or their girlfriend and so on. Not that, you know, their girlfriend is a bad person. It just means that it's not their kind of people. They realize that it was never a good fit. And me freaking out, trying to save it, no longer makes sense because I realize that it's actually not a good fit. So there's nothing to save here. Or many guys, you know, come to me because they want to get an ex back. They've just, you know, lost someone, either divorced or broken up. And again, by the time they become more and more secure a few weeks in our work together, they realize that, you know, their ex was actually not the right vegetable for them. It was not the right person for them. And then that's how they heal, because they realize that this was never a good fit. It was a gift to be with that person and to be hurt so much so that I can, you know, start seeking for answers, become a better lover, understand relationships better. One of the concepts that we need to understand here is this idea of affinity, right? That not everyone is a good fit for us. It doesn't mean there's just one soulmate that you can be with. These are categories of people. So there's categories of people with whom you can be happy and categories of people with whom you cannot be happy. They're just not going to be a good fit for you. Not personality-wise, not biologically-wise, not physically-wise, not, life-wise, direction-wise, and so on. So it's very freeing when we realize that we don't have to sell ourselves. We don't have to convince people to like us. We don't have to hold on to relationships that may not be a great fit. So once we realize that, we become awakened to the fact that we don't have to be someone who we're not or hold on to something that's not a good fit. So for example, many people, most people love with attachment, and it's part of my job to help people love without attachment, love with an open hand, not with a grasping hand, to love without fear of loss, right? Without neediness. So once we understand that if I had a relationship with someone and she wants to leave, then this means that our alignment has ended. We're no longer aligned. We may have been greatly aligned for a period in our life, but the affinity is over. Maybe we have changed over the last few months or years so much that there is no more alignment. Let's say your direction in life is a little bit different, her direction is different, so maybe you began as two apples and you were so greatly connected, but over the years you have changed personality-wise, right? And although you may physically look similar, the affinity in other areas has changed. So you're actually no longer two apples. Maybe, she's a tomato and you are a cucumber. So the affinities has changed and people are like struggling. How, we have to try to make this work. No, you don't have to try to make this work. You can just recognize, you can see, like, are we still naturally motivated to be in this relationship, excited to be in this relationship? If not, then it means there's no more alignment, and it's best to part ways and give the space for this woman, for this guy, to be with someone who is a good fit for them at their level. So we are not one type of vegetable our whole life, because we change as human beings. We may begin as a strawberry, and then we can evolve, over the next few years in all kinds of fruits, let's say, or vegetables. Because we change as human beings. And the people who change a lot find themselves, like, for example, a man who comes to me trying to save his marriage or his relationship. He may be, for example, an apple when he comes to me, but by the time he becomes more secure and starts respecting himself more and being less needy and relaxed in his approach to relationships, because he gets it, the fact that his mindset changed means that he has changed. So he's no longer an apple. He may just be now already a beetroot. It's a fun word. He has changed. So, he can clearly see that who I am now as a secure man no longer is a good fit with my girlfriend, with my partner. Right? So there's no longer a good fit. I can see how there is no connection. Right? So, again, relationships, they're not meant for us to be together forever. They're meant for us to be together for as long as we enjoy being together. For as long as we both find it enjoyable to be in this relationship. It doesn't mean that when you have arguments, you just give up. Because if you find the relationship enjoyable overall, then when you have arguments, that's just another thing to clarify to keep enjoying the relationship. So the overall enjoyment motivates you to handle the arguments and to go through the hard times because you overall enjoy the relationship, right? But when you don't enjoy the relationship overall and you try to deal with arguments, you try to save the relationship, it's pointless. It doesn't matter how much you try to deal with arguments if you are two different vegetables, if there's no more affinity, there's no more enjoyment in the relationship. So I hope this gives you some clarity in terms of how not everyone is a good fit. It's not your job to make every woman like you. It's not your job to make your partner like you, your girlfriend like you, your wife like you, not even your kids. It's not your job to make them like you. Your only job is to be who you are, to be more of who you are, and let who you are push away the wrong people for you and pull toward you the right people for you. So your flavor as a human being is like a magnet that is meant to really repel, and it's okay. Let people who do not have affinity with you, even friends, even family members, the fact that you are family members with someone doesn't mean you have to hang out with them. If you don't have affinity, you don't have the same alignment, the same interest, the same personality, the same, you just don't have alignment with them, doesn't mean you have to spend time with those people. You can still be family related and so on. It just doesn't mean you have to spend time together. And it even applies to parents and kids. Kids, when they grow older, 18, 20, and so on, they may be so different than their parents that when they hang out, they just don't have affinity. They just don't enjoy each other's presence. And it doesn't mean that they have to be together, They don't have to. So this idea of affinity is very freeing because what it says is that we're going to be in great alignment with certain people and in no alignment with other people. And the fact that we don't have affinity with other people doesn't mean that we are not good for those people or that those people are not good for us. It just means that we don't have to, we were never meant to be together, right? So again, our job is to just be ourselves and let that push away the wrong people for us and bring in the right people for us. Because if we try to force affinity, to create a connection with someone with whom we don't have an affinity, that's going to be hard work. And that's going to mean we have to change ourselves. It's going to mean we have to be more than who we are, which doesn't feel good, doesn't feel right. You know, you don't want to go through life trying to be someone who you're not. That's not the way you go through life. The way you go through life is by being 100% yourself. That's when you feel best. That's when you shine. That's when you are the greatest version of you, the most comfortable with your version of being human. That's when you feel good. That's when you really love yourself, really embrace this version of being human, and you become unapologetic about it. You don't have to, apologize for who you are. You are who you are, and then some people will resonate with your flavor, some people will not. And then you let your flavor, your way of being as a human, be the self-selecting mechanism for other people, whether they enjoy it or not. Because, again, spending time with the wrong people is not going to feel good to you, it's not going to feel good to them. And spending time with the right people is going to feel good naturally, to you and to them. That's when you know there's a good alignment. So, anyway, I've touched on a few different things in this video, and I hope it gave you some clarity on what it means to have affinity with someone and not have affinity with someone. And this applies, again, a lot in the dating, when we're really selecting the right people for us. If for some reason it doesn't feel like a good fit, it's because it's not a good fit. Our intuition is very developed as well. Many times we just kind of go into a relationship because that's the only person who gives us attention, the only person who kind of liked us, although deep down we know it's not a good fit. So if we know it's not a good fit, we know it's going to lead to problems down the road. Like, you don't want to get into a relationship if you're an apple with a pear. Although they're kind of similar, it's not going to be a good fit. You want to really connect with the people with whom is the most effortless to connect with, is the most natural to connect with. That's why when people ask me, how do I find my mate? How do I find my perfect partner, my ideal partner? Well, there's a few pieces of advice I can give here, but one of them is that, well, all you have to do is be yourself, really be naturally comfortable with yourself. This means you have to do the inner work of becoming comfortable with yourself, of loving yourself. That inner work is part of what we do actually in the Secure Mindset School, the Secure Man School, which is something that I do with people, with men at this point, to become secure, right? So we do that inner work of being comfortable with who you are, realizing how valuable you are. That's one of the 4 shifts that allow us to change our mindset, from insecure to secure. It's really the foundation, the most important work for having a great love life. So, if you want to find your perfect mate, you just have to be more comfortable with yourself, to let your unique flavor really express itself, be self-expressed, instead of trying to impress, really just being yourself and expressing who you are. So don't try to impress, just express yourself. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is you want to put yourself in social circumstances where there are people of the opposite sex. That could be going to Toastmasters, that could be going to a party, that could be going to a club, that could be going to a friend's party, that could be going to school or to some classes, whatever, right? That could be hanging out with different friends and their friends and then and so on. So first step, express yourself. Don't try to impress. Be who you are. Be more of who you are. Become comfortable with that. That requires deep inner work. You know that already, that you have to be yourself. But you can't because it's missing the deep inner work, which is the core that makes being yourself the most natural thing in the world. That's why that work is so important. That's why I do that inner work with people in the Secure Mindset School, the Secure Man School. So again, first step, be who you are. Second step, put yourself in those social circumstances where there are people of the opposite sex. Third step, let who you are be the magnet. You don't have to, try to make people like you. You just have to, again, be yourself, put yourself in those circumstances, and then people will self-select. Your personality will attract, bring in, and push back the wrong people and bring in the right people. So some women there, if you're a man, will kind of look at you, and you will kind of look at some women. Like you will enter a room and you'll be like, okay, there's 10 women here. There's just one of them that I'm kind of attracted to, right? So your inner magnet, right? What you like is the inner magnet, has already identified one person who you like. And her, the women in the room are not blind either. If they are single, they will be looking around as well. They'll be like, okay, I like that guy. So now, at this point, we can get a little bit more advanced into you being able to read and really notice when a woman likes you. That's about really knowing how a woman expresses that. Maybe she's looking at you a little bit longer or kind of looking at you. Or maybe she's just smiling, or maybe, there's all kinds. Maybe she's just like coming closer to you in the same, closer proximity. Maybe she just breaks the ice. Maybe when you talk to her, let's say that you're introduced by someone, she's more smiling at what you're saying, and she feels really comfortable and relaxed with you. Maybe she touches you. These are signs that when someone likes you. But the only thing you need, so let's say that we discussed a few steps, right? Be yourself, be more, you have to learn to love who you are, right? Be comfortable with who you are. Then put yourself in social circumstances. 3, let that, let your inner magnet tell you who is the one for you, and let the people in the room self-select as well. Now, you may be able to talk to those people, or you may need, if you're a man, you may need to realize that part of your job as a man is that when you like a woman, it's your job. If you had a job description, right, that said what it means to be a man when it comes to relationships and women, the number one point on that job description would say, when man likes woman, man goes talk to woman. Man goes to talk to woman. That's all. It's the old-fashioned way of just being a man. You like someone, you go and say hello, But, this is one of the most scary things in the world for men nowadays, because we have forgotten what it means to be a man, right? A woman, she sees you and she may like you and she may send you all kinds of signals and, look at you and so on. But most of us are so scared because we think it's wrong to go talk to a woman. But actually, that's the right thing to do. It's wrong to not go talk to a woman. Anyway, this is, deeper advanced stuff that I do when I work with someone, helping them understand. But again, for simplicity, these are like 3 steps that allow you to find someone, or maybe 4, to find someone that's a good fit for you without trying to force affinity, without trying to force connection. Because if you have to convince someone to like you, it's the wrong person. The right person will naturally like you for being who you are. But this does require that you are comfortable with who you are. You are comfortable with you being an apple, or whatever fruit you are, or vegetable you are. If you're a beetroot, be the beetroot. Be proud of being a beetroot. Be excited to be a beetroot. Doesn't mean that because you are a beetroot, and someone is an apple, it's not okay to be a beetroot as a vegetable. It's perfectly okay to be your type of vegetable, of flavor that you are. And let that, again, self-select, push away the wrong people, bring in the right people for you. Your job just being to be who you are, and never apologizing for who you are. So yeah, this makes it very simple. right now I'm in a relationship, I'm married, and we have a great relationship. But if I were to be single, dating would be very simple. It's no longer about getting every girl to like me. It's really about being who I am and letting that bring in the woman that does like me already, and then I can see if I like her. So we see, is there great affinity? And affinity in this case would be me liking her and her liking me. If one of the people doesn't like the other, it's because there's no affinity. A friend of mine was asking me about a girl he went on a date with, and 2 days later he texted her and she didn't reply. She just disappeared. So he asked me what happened. So I said, look, the good news is that she probably realized you're not the guy for her. Now the good news is that if you're not the guy for her, this means she's not the girl for you as well. Because if there's no affinity for one of the people, there's no affinity for both. And in a relationship as well, like in a marriage, if your wife no longer likes you and wants to leave, this disqualifies her from being the right woman for you as well. Because the only woman you want to be with is the woman who wants to be with you. Right? So that makes it very easy to not be afraid of fear of loss. Because if she no longer wants to be with you, this means she's not a good fit anymore. There's no more alignment. It might have been until now, but no more alignment already. So she's the wrong woman for you. And you wanting to be with the wrong woman for you makes no sense. And once you start seeing that clearly, that someone not wanting to be with you, someone having doubts about being with you, means that they are not a good fit for you. So you're no longer attached to someone who's not a good fit for you. So even when the relationship is great, you can be relaxed, you can be secure, and not be afraid of that fear of loss, because you know that if it comes to the loss, it's because it's no longer a good fit. So the loss is actually a win. The loss is actually creating the space for you to be with someone who is a good fit. Anyway, this is a very deep conversation, fear of loss, just like confidence, just like many others. But again, I hope this brings you some clarity. So you no longer run around trying to save the wrong things or convince the wrong women, the wrong people to like you. And this makes it very simple to just be, makes dating and relationships very simple, to just be your own kind of flavor, your own kind of vegetable, right? And look for the same type of people that are a good fit for you, with whom you have affinity. And not force affinity, not force connection. If you have to force connection, if you have to prove yourself, you have to impress rather than express who you are, it's the wrong fit. All right? So, yeah, hope this makes sense, guys. And, reflect on that. It's a huge piece. It's a critical piece that most people don't see it. Even most teachers and experts and therapists and so on do not see this. Like when you go to when you go to therapy, couple therapy, for example, the therapist doesn't look at are these people a good fit. The therapist is really set into the mindset of I need to help these people save the relationship, save the marriage. But the actual point is not about saving anything. It's about seeing if these people can be happy. And if they cannot be happy because they are no longer aligned, it's best for them to let go of each other. It's a failure to stay with the wrong person for you. So we think the longer we stay with someone, the happier the more successful we are. But actually, it's a failure to be with the wrong person for you for a long time, right? And it's a success to let go of the wrong person for you, right? In our society, we judge the success of a relationship based on the length of how long these people have been together. that people can be together for a lifetime. You know, those couples are like, we've been together for 40 years, for 45 years, for 30 years, for 20 years. And how many of those have you been happy? Not too many. Some of them have been, and that's beautiful. That's inspiring. But most people, they stay together because they think they need to be successful in the eyes of their kids, in the eyes of their community, of their friends. But they are actually unsuccessful. They are failing at life by being with the wrong person. So yeah, reflect on this idea of affinity. And again, this is very freeing because it allows you to be yourself and really select the right people for you when you're dating someone and when you are in a relationship. The job is no longer, I need to make this person like me. It's, let's see if I like this person and if they like me for who I am. Because if they don't like you for who you are, they're not the person for you. Right? So again, your job is not to make them like you. Your job is to just be yourself and let them like you or not. That's a good choice of words, actually. So being yourself and let them like you or not. All right? And then also see if you like them. So yeah. Again, I keep wanting to end this video, but I keep going back to the same idea. So, you know, if you want, just, you know, watch the whole thing from the beginning, because this is a powerful, critical concept. So if this makes sense, then relationships can become a lot easier, and life can become a lot easier, because you no longer have to go around trying to make people like you. You can just go around being yourself and let the wrong people hate you and the right people love you. So that's that. Cool. Hope this was helpful for you. I will see you in some other video. Bye-bye. Yeah. Don't forget to live better and love better. Cheers.